Hey everybody, welcome back to Hobby Vomit, and this is our weekly retch. So I know we're a few weeks behind, a couple of reasons for that. One of them is not this new puppy, but he is very adorable. We just got him this last weekend, so I wanted to show him off. This is Augustin. We've been calling him Augie for short, and he is absolutely cute, and he's giving me lots of puppy kisses. Okay, Maggie, here's Augie back. So we haven't had a weekly retch now in some time, and so I wanted to start off by kind of talking about that. You want to say hi too? You can say hi. Say hi. This is Joseph. Say hi, Joseph. Okay. So we haven't had a weekly retch in some time, and so I wanted to talk a little bit about that. So I was actually supposed to record the weekly retch 2 weeks ago, and then Matt was going to record the weekly retch last night. However, I missed the weekly retch 2 weeks ago, and then Matt was actually going to be out of town this past weekend. And so I was like, well, hey, why don't I just do the weekly retch when you're out of town? And that way we'll catch up on our normal rotation because we've been alternating. And then turns out Matt didn't have to be out of town, but I was still going to continue with the weekly retch. It was also Easter, and so it was actually fairly difficult to record over the weekend. And so here we are, we're recording on Easter Monday. Happy octave of Easter, everybody. And we're going to resuming our weekly retch schedule again. And so then this coming Sunday, Matt will do a weekly retch again, and we'll get back on track with our schedule. So why did I miss 2 weeks ago? So I wasn't able to give an update 2 weeks ago for a couple of reasons. The thing that essentially happened was that I didn't really have any updates to give, and so it was kind of hard to go into that weekly retch without really much to update. And the reason why I didn't really have much to give is because there was a kind of a lot going on at the time. And so I think the last time I did a weekly retch, I was talking about possibly, I believe I did it on a Friday, did it early because I was talking about how I was possibly going to be gone over the weekend. And so one of the things that essentially happened was that we became aware that my grandma was in fairly poor health and that her health was declining. She was she was doing fairly well for the most part. She had some chronic illnesses that would appear and cause her pain and difficulty, especially around swelling around her leg. So there's mobility and other things like that. My grandpa's doing amazing. And so he's been, he was taking care of her, and they were in Oklahoma City. And so a lot of my family's in Oklahoma City. And so it's been really good for over a year. I mean, not ideal, let's say. I definitely don't want my grandma dealing with all of those chronic illnesses, but it was nice having her closer to family, and it was great to see how mentally with it she was too, especially even at 88 years of age. And so I was able to take my family to go see her, and we spent some time with her, and she was holding my youngest, and we were having great conversations about what it was like for her when she was still in New York, and things like that. So that was really nice. But then we got a call a few days afterwards. So this would have been around the sort of March 19th period, a few days after that. And she had been admitted to the hospital, and her health had significantly declined. Physically, she had declined quite a lot. And then cognitively, she wasn't very responsive come that Saturday. So then on Sunday, I went down to Oklahoma City to see her. And then she ended up passing away that evening. And then the funeral was a week later on a Monday. And so we were kind of helping my mom through that. And so I've mentioned this a few times on the channel. I'm Catholic. I was raised Catholic. I'm still Catholic. My wife and I are practicing Catholics, and we're raising our children Catholic. My mom is Catholic. Her parents are Catholic, but nobody else in the family is still Catholic. And so when it came time to prepare for the funeral mass, a lot of it fell on me to help with those preparations in order to, call the church, deal with the pastor and the deacon, and go through the arrangements and communicate those arrangements to the family. And then there were opportunities where we would pick readings and hymns, and so then my uncles would show up and they would suggest readings, and that part was really, really awesome, kind of having the whole family, or having a good portion of the family kind of chipping in on that part. But I was kind of the orchestrator, right? And an organizer, let's say. And so I was helping my mom through those arrangements. And so we were finally able to have the funeral, again, about 8 days later after my grandmother passed. And that was the March 31st or 30th, or however that goes, right? March 31st. And so Then on April the 1st, I get a call and my dad has passed away. Now, my dad has been dealing with liver cancer now for, it was 2 years. I keep saying it was like 18 months, but 6 months went by really fast. So it's about 2 years. He was diagnosed in the spring of 2023. And so, or roughly about there. And so it'd been about 2 years. And he wasn't really wanting to talk very much about it. He wasn't really wanting to be open about it because he didn't want people kind of seeing him as like lesser, right? And that's kind of how he felt. And so my mom was taking care of him and working full time. He's effectively retired because of that. And we were trying to spend time with him as well and like work on our family relationships and we ended up getting a lot longer with them. We thought he was going to pass away in 2024, and so we ended up getting a year more with them. We thought he was going to pass away in the January of 2024, and so we got a little over a year more with him than we thought. And he's actually born in February, so we got 2 more birthdays with them, which was really awesome. So it wasn't unexpected per se, but he's had a few down spells where he's been bedridden for weeks on end, and he's always bounced back. And this time around, he was very cognitively with it. He was slightly confused on a few things, but for the most part, doing great. We had an awesome conversation that same morning, or so the day before. My mom had a great conversation with him that same morning. Like everything kind of seemed fine. And then he laid down in bed for a nap in the evening, and then he just didn't wake up. We had a nurse check on him, and he was unresponsive. He had been in hospice care for most of that time. And so we had a hospice nurse check on him, and he was unresponsive, and he had no pulse, and so he had passed away. And so I got this call in the evening that my dad had passed away, and so I went and stayed with my mom for that week. So when it came to the Weekly Retch, I was been spending a lot of time with my mom at her house at Lake Eufaula, and we'd been spending time with my sister at her house in Oklahoma City, and just as a family kind of coming together to process this and to have time together and to make the arrangements. And so a lot of my time has really been spent on doing what little work I can do, but mostly just spending time with my family and helping to take care of the funeral arrangements. And so for the most part, we're doing okay. I don't, I'm not saying this to like have a sob story. That's not the point. I just want to, the whole point of the Weekly Retches is kind of give everybody updates on things that are going on. And there's obviously been a big moment in what's been going on with my life. And so I wanted to go and share that. And so that's kind of what was happening over those weeks. And I wasn't at that time ready to go on the Weekly Retch and talk about that. And so I wanted to give it some time. And so Matt and I discussed it, and it looked like it would be better to just postpone to this time. And so then as for yesterday, it was Easter, and so celebrating Easter with my family. And so here we are, first Monday, octave of Easter, and we're doing our Weekly Retch again. So with that out of the way, or at least with that on the table, let's say, we can kind of jump into what we normally do with our Weekly Retches, right? Oh, hold on. Daddy's doing recording, okay? Oh, thank you, bud. He's got an egg for me. Oh, it's got chocolate in it. Nice. Okay. So, our Weekly Retches, right? How do they go? Oh, they're all bringing me eggs now. So, Weekly Retches, how does it go? So, we're going to go ahead and talk about our hobbies from the last 4 weeks, I guess. And so, that's going to focus on books, movies, and games. So for books, Matt is itching for me to be done with Gardens of the Moon. So here we have Gardens of the Moon, and I've been working through it pretty well, and I'm working on the next video for this. So this week, the goal is to basically finish off the last of this book and get you all my videos on my reactions to each of those parts in that book. And so you guys will see those videos rolling out within the next week or so, of me kind of going after each part in that book. I do a recording, and so you'll kind of get to see that, and I'll be able to finish this one up. And then once I do, then I can start up on Dead House Gates, the second in the series. And so then Matt and I are going to do our kind of the same format where we like discuss what we've read so far, what we liked about it, what we expect to happen next, where we kind of go through the parts of the book, but we're going to do it together with this one. And then during that time, we'll probably see the first part of this one before you see my review of Gardens of the Moon, but I will have a review for Gardens of the Moon as well. And right now, very favorable. Absolutely loving this book. Might be best fantasy book for me of all time. There are, of course, some fantasy books that I just have a lot of nostalgia for because of when I read them. Obviously, like Lord of the Rings, I have a lot of nostalgia for. The Redwall series, I have a lot of nostalgia for. Even stuff like what I'm reading with my daughter, the Patricia C. Reed's Enchanted Forest Chronicles. A lot of nostalgia for that. Christopher Paolini's Inheritance Cycle. A lot of nostalgia for that. Actually, that's my most read fantasy of all time. It's I read each book when the next. I read each book again when the next book came out. So I've read the first book 4 times, the second book 3 times, the third book 2 times, and the fourth book 1 time. And I know that there's another one, Murtagh, but I have not read that one, so that might be fun to pick up at some point. Yeah, so in terms of books, I've been kind of just trimming down and trying to focus all of my reading time on Gardens of the Moon. So everything's kind of been on pause so we can get through that. All of my other reading has just been for work. I do have to read a lot of nonfiction for work because I'm a professor, and so I do need to stay up to date on current research as well as current trends. A lot of my reading for the nonfiction, in case anybody's curious, there is a pretty significant but not well researched open question on how to properly teach computer science to undergraduate students. So if you don't know, in computer science, there is typically about a 50 to 60% retention rate, which means that we have about a 40% drop-off rate. It can actually get much worse. In many cases, it is not uncommon to have that be a 30% or 40% retention rate with a 60% drop-off. So, and that's actually, again, pretty normal. And there's a lot of reasons why that could be the case, but obviously a lot of people are interested, like myself, in ways that we might be able to approach teaching the subject better to make it more accessible. I personally come from the philosophy that even if you're not meant to be a computer scientist, even that's not your vocation, programming is becoming a very invasive part of our lives in almost all fields. And typically speaking, if you can program a little bit, it's going to help you a lot, actually. Quite literally today, I was working on setting up my note-taking app called Obsidian, and I was doing some TypeScript programming in order to create some nice templates for myself that can pull things like file information and timestamps and stuff like that, and do some prompts just to make it more fun and interesting for me to like make notes. But that's the kind of thing that anybody could do if they know how to program and kind of understand some of the concepts. So I've been reading a lot on that, and there have been some pretty significant figures in our field, people who have worked on programming languages for a long time, who have been chiming in on this, because if you don't know, if you're very successful in your field, your retirement plan can be to go teach at a university. And so there are some pretty well-established computer scientists, engineers, language architects, who have effectively their retirement plan is to go work at places like Carnegie Mellon, Stanford, MIT, stuff like that. And so they've been coming out and they've been opening these discussions on what can we do to teach the next generation of computer scientists. And so there's a lot of interest that's going on right now in this. So I've been reading a lot of this because I'm very interested in it as well, since I'm one of the faculty members who's like principally responsible for bringing in new ideas into curriculum development for my university. So that's been where a lot of my nonfiction reading has been recently. And so that's been really good. But for fiction reading, trimming it down so I can focus on Gardens of the Moon and actually get this done so Matt and I can proceed with Dead House Gates. And then I'll be able to resume the Dungeon Crawler Carl with my wife, and still reading the Enchanted Forest with my daughter. We've not finished that first one. She's still a huge fan of the Little House on the Prairie. So her and my daughter and my wife have been cranking through those. And so the Enchanted Forest kind of takes a second tier, so to speak, to Little House on the Prairie. But we are working through that one, and then I'm also going to resume I want to start Joe Abercrombie. Matt has had a lot of great things to say about Joe Abercrombie. He's put that on the channel, so I want to get those going. I have them on Audible now, and so that's going to be my commute Audible book starting here pretty soon. And my other goal, of course, since we were going through Lent, I was trying to read the Confessions by St. Augustine. I was trying to read more scripture, and I was able to do some of that, but I kind of just found time in the middle of dealing with these dealing with my family situation to do that, but didn't do that as much as I would like to have done. So we'll see if we can maybe pick up a little bit of that, salvage a little bit of that over the next few weeks. But yeah, the time and attention was really focused on kind of spending time together, and we just found ourselves as, just utterly exhausted most nights when I would normally read. So just not a lot of reading happened during that time. Moving from that, we go into movies. So I'm currently going to be working on watching Sing Sing in preparation for our next movie discussion. I don't think I watched many movies. I think the only movie we really watched, my wife and I been watching Ben-Hur, which is usually every Holy Week we watch Ben-Hur and The Passion. The Passion, we try to watch The Passion, but not yet ready for my kids to watch The Passion. We typically let them watch some of it. But then this Easter, kind of this Holy Week, we that did not happen. But we did watch Ben-Hur, so that was really fun. Also, I have been watching, been getting into an anime kick. So in terms of like TV shows, there just hasn't been much that's excited me at the time. And so I was like, hey, let's go ahead and watch some of the anime in my backlog because I do enjoy that. And I'll have these like kicks where I'll pay for our Crunchyroll subscription for a very short time, like a month, and I'll just watch some anime. So one of the ones I've been meaning to watch was Solo Leveling. They have a really phenomenal English dub. I still watched it subbed, but I think I'll watch it again dubbed because the dubbed voice actor did a phenomenal job is what I've heard. So I want to see how that went. But I watched Solo Leveling. They currently have 2 seasons. The 3rd season's coming out soon. And so I checked that one out. Amazing. If you are interested in anime, if you like anime, or if you'd like to get into anime, Solo Leveling is like shonen adjacent. So most people who don't really want to get into anime tend to not like anime because of shonen. So things like Naruto, where it's almost more like infinite arcs and like thousands of episodes kind of thing. Solo Leveling, there's 24 episodes out. So essentially it's about 12 to 13 episodes per season. And there's only, like I said, there's only 2 seasons. It is absolutely phenomenal. Maybe one of the best animes of its kind. Certainly in terms of Crunchyroll, it is breaking all of the records. So it is, in some sense, like the best anime on Crunchyroll, which is kind of crazy, but I can totally see why. For those of you that are gamers who like playing video games or playing RPGs, you will absolutely love Solo Leveling. So the premise is that these dungeons open up all over the world, and in order to prevent the monsters from coming out and terrorizing the world, dungeon crawlers called hunters must go into the dungeons, defeat the dungeon boss, and close it. So essentially these it's almost like the dungeon crawlers are playing like a roguelite in a way, right? Like they got to go in, they got to defeat the boss, they come out, and then they start a new run. But on like a roguelike, if you die, you die. And so what happens is typically people will get like if they develop powers, they'll develop these gifts, they'll develop a certain strength, and so essentially they'll acquire skills of a particular category, like a particular rank, and then that determines like what rank they are as a hunter. So if somebody has like an S tier skill, they'd be like an S tier hunter. But then once you acquire skills, you can't acquire any more skills. And so that's kind of where you are. So then after that, all you can do is perfect like your strength, your speed, your wisdom, your combat awareness, things like that, right? You just develop your ability to use those skills. And so the essential premise is that our main character becomes, he's like the worst hunter in the world, but then he has an interesting and novel skill. His skill is that he is the singular person, at least that we know of, who can actually develop more skills over time and improve his skills. And the experience of this is like an RPG where like as he does things, he gains experience, and then those level up his skills and he levels up and things like that. And so it's called Solo Leveling because he is the solo person leveling himself, right? And so very, very cool like situation. But then he can do things like he can stash his upgrades. So then like in the middle of a fight, he can start spending his upgrades on his skills at that point. And so he can get like stronger during a fight and stuff like that. So it's so funny because if you've played RPGs, then you've used all of these gimmicks before, like stashing your level ups to use them in the middle of a fight instead of in between fights. And so you know what that's like if you've played, an RPG video game. And so it's just, the story doesn't explain that to you. They just say what they're doing. And they're not like trying to go to the mechanics. So you just see it seamlessly and you're like, this guy is just totally like cheesing this fight by like doing these level ups. But it's still like very cool and super well done. And the original soundtrack is amazing. Hits so good. So I definitely recommend it. If you like anime, a little bit of maybe a slightly darker one, if you kind of like that premise, you will have a ton of fun with Solo Leveling. Again, it's one of the best animes I've watched. I'm excited to watch it again. And then I'm currently watching Angel Beats. That is one I've been meaning to go back to for some time. I kind of have some like fan favorite animes that I like to go back to, like Angel Beats, Baby Steps, One Punch Man, And so I think I might go back and revisit some of those and watch them again. So yeah, so that's kind of where we've been on the movies and TV front. Currently, the other TV shows I was watching are kind of on pause. I'm just not as interested in like watching a spy drama right now. Kind of just want something that's a bit more familiar, that I can enjoy and kind of go back and relive. So, and then lastly we have games. So a lot been happening on the games development. Not much in terms of new games, but certainly in terms of doing new things with games. So we have a Sakura mod for Dwarf Romantic Sakura on TTS, and that's been doing really, really well. I am so encouraged and excited by the amount of people who've been using that mod. So again, everyone who's been checking out, thank you so much. And so Matt and I have a campaign playthrough of that going on right now that we're recording for the channel. And then Matt got the card game kick again. So we are back to playing Marvel Champs, except we are wanting to do some Marvel Champs custom content. And so we are doing another campaign for Marvel Champs. We're doing the Fantastic Four campaign designed by Design Hacker, who is an absolute legend. So we are playing through that content. And so I've been playing Moon Knight, and Matt has been playing his own custom hero Reader, and that has been fantastic. So if you like Marvel Champs, like to check out it out, and would like to see some custom content, definitely check it out, because it's some of the best custom content that we've seen for Marvel Champs. Matt's too modest to say that Reader is awesome, but I think he's a really, really cool designed hero, and he fits in really well with the suite of heroes, especially those in the custom content. So it's been awesome kind of seeing him get to pilot his own creation, and I think it's been going really well. So yeah, so that's kind of what's happening in the game space. Other than that, Matt and I have been trying to play, as well as with some of our other friends like Brooks and Jones, who you've seen on the channel. We've been playing some Overwatch. We've been trying to play some other co-op games as well. So Matt recently played Blueprints, and I checked that one out as well. And so I've been really enjoying that. I'm still too early to give any comments on it. Been playing Monster Hunter Wilds still quite a bit, and really, really enjoying it. Very, very glad I got into the series at this point. But the funny one from yesterday, and then kind of the new big one, would be we played Totally Reliable Delivery Service. It's totally not reliable. It's a ragdoll physics game, cooperative, and you deliver packages. It is absolutely hilarious. And so we had a lot of fun going through hijinks of that for like 90 minutes. And so it's not one we'll like play again and again and again, but for what it was, it was really fun for like that 90 minutes, just to goof off, be funny, hit each other with cars, erase, deliver packages, hijinks ensues, blow each other up with bombs, stuff like that. And so it's just good fun. But then the other one I picked up was a RuneScape Dragon Wilds. So I've been playing that. And I was a huge RuneScape fan, old school RuneScape when I was growing up. I played RuneScape like all through elementary school and middle school, and then I would pick it up again. And I would have these periods where I'd play it again for like 2 weeks, make a new character, play for 2 weeks, in college, after college, stuff like that. Just always a big fan of old school RuneScape. And so this is this is essentially like RuneScape, but in a survival crafting situation, or in a survival crafting genre. Now, I'm not a big fan of survival crafting games. I don't mind hardcore mechanics like having to eat or drink water, but I'm just never a big fan of survival crafting. But there is something about taking all the best parts of RuneScape and then putting them into a survival crafting. And so I was telling Matt, it was like, if you're in survival crafting, it's like, oh, I need a house because shelter. So I'm going to go cut down this tree and like make this house. And it's just like, well, there's a certain point where you just kind of get tired like cutting down the tree and to make the house. You're like, I get it. Now I kind of just give me the wood so I can like make the thing. Stop making me like constantly go back and go get the wood, right? Because like I get it, like the novelty of this has like worn off a little bit. At least that's how it is for me. But then with RuneScape, you have the wood crafting skill. So now it's like you cut down tree, and it's like, yes, you cut down this tree, and so it's like, okay, well, this is like the 100th time I've cut down a tree, like to go grab the wood to like make a house. But now it's like you cut it down, and it's like, oh, but I leveled up my woodcrafting skill. So, you see those big, like, fireworks and the numbers, and you're like, your brain's just like, oh, cool, I leveled up. This is amazing. And so it feels like you get all those great, like, RPG experiences of, like, leveling up, but in this survival crafting game. And, of course, that's the thing I liked about RuneScape was, like, over time, working on my skills and leveling up. And what you get from leveling up feels really cool. And yeah, so it's been, honestly, I think that if this was what RuneScape was back in elementary school, it would have been I mean, it would have been dominant. I mean, I think everybody would have loved this game. So, I don't know. It feels like the culmination of everything like RuneScape was meant to be. But we'll see. It's still very early. It's in early access. It doesn't even have all the skills. So we'll see. But I think right now it's on a great track, and I'm excited to see what they do with it. And if they can continue to bring all the best parts of RuneScape back into it, then all the better. And you have to pay for it. It's not on a membership model. It's just $30. RuneScape is not dead or anything like that. RuneScape is actually doing quite well. But this is just another take on the genre, and I'm here for it. So I was playing that with my cousin, and we were having a phenomenal time. And I even played it by myself for a little bit, and still had a great time. So that's always good. So that's pretty much it for the Retch. The last thing I want to close off with, for all of you guys, a little bit of shameless self-promotion. So my wife is actually a writer, and she has recently put one of her books up on Amazon. It's called Down in the Holler. If you would like, you can also check it out on Substack. This is actually she does these as a serialized release. This is the first season, and there is currently 2 seasons out, and the third one is kind of being released at this time. And so our goal is to kind of get this one out and then get the next one out. And then when the third one is done, we'll get the third one out, and then we'll get a copy out that's all 3 in one. And so, again, not saying that you all need to buy this, but more so want to include this because, one, I'm really proud of my wife. She's a hard worker, and she's a stay-at-home mom, and she's still a writer. And the whole reason, her whole handle on Substack is Naptime Novelist, because that's mainly when she gets to write, is like when the kids are asleep. Also funny, my handle is Late Night for the same reason, because late at night is when my kids are asleep, and so that's when I'm more active to do things. My wife's more of a morning bird and day bird, not a night owl like myself. And so, yeah, it's called Down in the Holler. It's called the Judith Temple Mystery. It's about cold cases from a psychic detective. It's based in Kentucky. I think you'll really, really enjoy it if you like cold cases or murder mysteries or things like that, with a bit of a spin. It's not very long, as you can kind of see. Relatively short book, and you can find some of the content online as well. Do not feel obligated to buy it. If you would like to check it out, please, you can check it out on Substack and see what you think. But if you'd like to support my wife, you certainly can. Not trying to use the channel as a way to kind of support her, just to try to like funnel things towards her, but mostly just to go and say that, hey, look, it's a really cool story, and I love my wife, and I love what she's doing, and she put a lot of work into it. And so if you'd like to check it out, this could be a fun one for you as well. And I'll probably do a little something on the channel, or maybe have Matt. Matt picked up a copy, so we might have Matt do something on the channel as well. Although knowing how shy my wife is, she may or may not watch that review. So just warning Matt that if you do read the book and want to do a review, that would be awesome. But my wife may not watch it because quite literally, like there's only like 2 people in the world that she like takes feedback from that she knows. Which is her sister and myself. Everybody else is like anonymous, or she's like not met them. She only had like contact with them online because she's very, very shy about the work that she does. So, but I would love to hear what you think, and for anybody else who'd like to check it out, love to hear what you think. And so, yeah, just let us know if you guys would like to pick that up. It is. I hope that you really, really enjoy it. And so, again, just love my wife. Really proud of what she's been able to do with this, especially while staying at home and helping to raise our 3, almost 4 kids, which has obviously been a huge support for our family and allowed me to do a lot of what I'm doing with my career, with my work. And so just so happy for our situation with her being at home and me having a flexible job as a professor, and her having time to be able to do stuff like this. Has just been really, really cool. And yeah, I remember my wife worked at speech path in Tulsa Public Schools, and when we had our second, she wanted to stay home, and she was like, it feels a little weird. I like have this degree and I'm not going to be using it. And I was like, here's the thing though, you got that degree, but your passion has always been for writing. So you're not just going to be a stay-at-home mom. Like, we are going to make it possible for you to be able to explore this passion of yours. It may not be your degree, it may not be what you went to college for, but writing has always been your passion. And so that's something that we did as a family. We made an active choice that my wife staying at home with the family would also be a way to facilitate her writing, and things like this have been the fruit of that. And she has been so happy to have these things, to be able to make these things. And it was a really interesting journey with her, struggling with whether or not she would self-publish. And then she met other writers on Substack and found a community of people that are all excited about writing, and found an avenue for self-publishing, and found a lot of encouragement for self-publishing. So for all of these that participate on Substack, thank you so much for the impression that you've left on my wife, for the positive feedback, and for the encouragement. It has been so helpful to her. And so just monumentally has really shaped her writing and really shaped her direction and helped her to do the things that she was just not sure or concerned or reluctant to. Really helped her push forward to be able to do things like put out her own stories on the internet and be able to have serialized releases and be able to self-publish, which are things that she never thought she was going to do before and she was really nervous about doing. But the reception has just been so good on Substack, so it just really has made all the difference for her and her writing. So again, for all of you, thank you. And that's also again why I say, like, go to Substack, like check out her content on Substack. Like it really means a lot to her. This is not something that we're making money off of. And we really aren't even making money on Substack. It's not the point. The point is that this is a passion of my wife, and this is a place where there's been so amazingly supportive for that passion. And so we just want more things to be out there in the world, and I want to see more of a community grow. And I want to see Substack grow as well because it's been so helpful to her. And so again, like, just go check it out on Substack, read it there. But if you'd like to pick up a copy, you can pick up a copy off of Amazon, or there's she has an article out that you can find on her Substack, a naptime novelist, that kind of goes through different ways you can support her. It is going to be hitting stores. So if you want to go like your local Barnes & Noble or local bookstore or hobby store, you can actually have them order her book that way through their publisher called Fire and Feast. And it'll also be available through Ingram Sparks as well. So, but anyway, that's it for today. Thank you again so much for your patience the last couple of weeks. I'm really glad that we were able to get this out finally. But in the meantime, look forward to our next Retch and all the stuff that we're doing with the channel. We're going to have some really cool videos coming out for you soon. But until then, this is Ian. Have a happy Easter. Take care.